Am I the asshole for not letting my son claim a box of granola bars? My son, 16, has a favorite kind of granola bars. We always buy him a huge box so they last longer. The issue is, he freaks out if anyone else has one. We never eat the last one, but they're pretty good and it makes for a good snack. He's scared his sister, 14, out of eating any due to his freakout when she dared to eat one. My wife isn't a fan so she never has one. I refuse to be bullied out of eating one of like 40 granola bars. Yesterday, I grabbed one and my son started on me. Why are you eating my granola bars? ? Quote. I held up a hand and told him, they are not your granola bars. You did not buy them. They're for the house and everyone can have some. There's a ton left and I can have one. In the future if your sister wants one too, she can. He got pissed. My wife told me to just have something else and I said no, leaving to enjoy it. My son apparently wrote his name on the box with Sharpie. I put tape over it and put our last name, family. My wife says I'm being petty but I find all of this ridiculous. Am I the asshole? Edit, some FAQs, my son isn't autistic and doesn't have an eating disorder. I said, we buy him, but I meant that we buy the box. He primarily eats them, but occasionally my daughter and I want to have one. They're not bought just for him. The granola bars in question are the chocolate chip Kirkland bars from Costco. Not the asshole. If he wants his own box, he's 16. He can pay for his own box. Not the asshole. This is a pivotal moment for your son. Your son needs to learn to share. He's lacking gratitude and showing no understanding for the fact that food costs money and whoever buys it owns it. Don't let this one go. Hammer this lesson home and he'll be a better son, brother, roommate, significant other, friend, etc. in the future because of it. Not the asshole. Tell him to share or buy them himself. You need to nip that selfish shit in the bud. Not the asshole but your wife sure is. He's acting like a toddler and your wife is enabling him big time. Not the asshole. You bought them for everyone. He wants his own box? Buy him a tiny one and say that it's his box. And he can't have any out of the family box once he finishes his box. He needs to learn how to share and stop being selfish. Not the asshole, but if that how he behaves don't buy them for him. Not the asshole. Your son needs to learn how to share though. Is sharing something he's always had an issue with or is this more recent or fixated on certain things like the granola bars? Freaking out at his sister to the point where she won't eat a granola bar isn't okay. Not the asshole. My brother pulled this tea growing up. He had no problem annihilating my parents' food, but if someone ate one of his Oreos, he'd calculate how much he was owed. Let your son know how much the box is, and tell him that you can start buying him his own box, if he wants to give you money for it. Otherwise, you're buying family boxes. On another note, please tell me you're all in family therapy to learn how to communicate more effectively and respectfully. Not the asshole, but your wife sort of is for enabling this behavior. He's old enough to drive, but not old enough to share a snack. Most of his peers learned that lesson in kindergarten. I have to know, though, what are these amazing granola bars? Why are they so special? Why are we completely glossing over the fact the 16-year-old has scared his 14-year-old sister? That's a huge red flag, Jesus. Not the asshole. Some posters are making this out to be a lot more than it needs to be. Your son is a teenager, at an age where they test and push boundaries and our nerves. You got his favorite granola bar, he assumed this meant that they were all his instead of the reality, which is that you were indulging his preferred choice. You shut that down. That's normal when dealing with a teen. He's learning to distinguish between assumptions and reality. Totally petty and gave me a good chuckle but not the asshole. This sounds like a great opportunity to teach your son about sharing, clearly he missed that lesson somewhere along the line. If he wants to have his own box of granola bars, he needs to get a job and buy them himself. Good luck. Not the asshole. If he wants to lay claim on the granola bars, then he has to pay for it himself. Alternatively, you can buy him one box and get one box for you and your daughter. Not the asshole. Kid has a big attitude and entitlement problem. If he doesn't have a job or anything, allowance or then I'd just stop buying the bars since he clearly is not earning it. You should be talking with him about why he feels this way and trying to solve the root cause. You're not really fixing anything. Not the asshole. If he wants the box to be his, he can buy a box of his own. Not the asshole. And you showed him that merely marking something with pen doesn't make it his. He didn't procure those granola bars, you did. Not the asshole. This is funny and very petty, but also strange. He needs to learn to share. He's a little old to be freaking out about granola bars. Your wife isn't helping. Not the asshole. This is a good way for your kid to learn he can't monopolize community-sized things. This seems so basic. Did his kindergarten fail to teach him about sharing? It's silly your wife is enabling this behavior, especially if he's bullying his sister over it. Reality check, kiddo. Not the asshole. Kids cannot claim snacks as just theirs unless they buy them with their own money and store them in their room. Not the asshole. But you probably did something years ago that started it. When my firstborn was a kid, my mill and husband started referring to yogurt and bananas as his food. And whenever I had one they would go, "Why are you eating kids' food?" I informed them that I did the grocery shop. All food was for all people of the household. I am guessing you allowed wife and kid to think some food was just his. And first now decided against it. Not the asshole, and your wife should have your back on this. Break that entitlement ASAP. Info. Are you 100% certain that your son is neurotypical? I guess I am petty because I would probably go one step further and take the box and divide it into 3 Ziplocs and label them with his name, his sister's name and dad. Problem solved. Now no one will eat his. But the end result will be he has less. He doesn't get to abuse people in his house over food. Especially when there is plenty to go around. His mother is doing him zero favors by letting him behave like that. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Your son is being absolutely ridiculous. Tell him if he wants his own box of granola bars he can go to the store with his own money and buy them. Not the asshole. It sounds like there is a lot going on here. Why doesn't your wife want to parent your son? What else does she let him get away with? What did this blow up that spooked your daughter consist of? I understand why some say the tape thing was petty. However, I would have done the same or given the box away. Not the asshole. Your wife and son are co-assholes. Let me go out on a limb here and take a guess. When your daughter took one and he freaked out on her, your wife's response was something to the effect of, "You know how much he likes those. You should have something else," to your daughter, and "He's just a kid, you know how he is," to you. Your wife is the mom that fully enables her son to be a douche canoe, and your son is happily rowing that boat. Your daughter is likely the scapegoat since nothing could ever sink your wife's precious douche canoe. Time to capsize the canoe and teach him how to swim. Not the asshole, but you will be if you don't very seriously address the issue of him intimidating his sister out of enjoying something that she has every right to, just like he does since he didn't buy the snacks. If you let that slide and only focus on forcing him to respect your right to them, he may well internalize this as a power issue rather than a fairness issue, and that's how you make a man who'll abuse his girlfriends. Ha ha ha. My son is the same. I tell him to drive himself to the store and buy his own stuff. He doesn't. Your wife is being really unsupportive, man. She's undermining your good intentions, and if you get advice, your son will just keep up his entitled behavior. Not the asshole. Yikes. Not the asshole. Your son is old enough to spend his money on what he likes. He should buy his own. It may seem petty to your wife, but a deeper issue is here. Your son is trying to adult in a negative manner. Freaking out over others eating and clamming a communal food item. Maybe he needs a cooking class, apprenticeship, mentor, or junior achievers class. He may be depressed over lack of choices or control in his life. Could be a body image issue, or maybe the bars is the only thing he eats, which isn't exactly healthy. A good family talk and maybe a trip to the right doctor or grocery store for more bars may help. In a few years your son is going to end up being the subject of a post on here when he doesn't know how to share with his partner or friends. You need to nip that selfish behavior in the bud now. He's too old to be acting like that. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. My mom put a halt to crap like this when my brother was 7. You guys are raising an entitled brat and need to get on the same page about changing course. Maybe there are other issues to unpack here. That sounds like autistic, ADHD, odd tendencies. Is your son like this with anything else? Not the asshole. Seems like son should be banned from eating them for the next month watching everyone have them. He's incredibly entitled and being ridiculous. If you don't buy them, they aren't yours. Not the asshole. Wife and son are, bar none. Info is this new behavior? Don't buy those fucking granola bars anymore. You are creating a monster. He's a self-centered 16-yo, and frankly if you don't bio it in the bus he's going to get worse. Not the asshole. He's too old to chalk this up to just a kid behavior. This is just selfish. NTA and you're letting your son be a bully. There's absolutely no reason your daughter needs to be scared out of anything. Not the asshole. Don't let your son bully your daughter and don't let your wife enable his bad behavior. He sounds like an entitled jerk. You really need to nip that in the bud. Perhaps don't buy his granola bars anymore. If he wants them he can buy them with his own money. Seriously, your son is not a nice person and is rude and disrespectful. Not the asshole. You bought it for the house, not for him. Your son is 16, he's old enough to get a job and buy his own granola bars if it's that important to him. Not to mention that he's bullying his younger sister over friggin' granola bars of all things. This is not okay, and your wife is only enabling this behavior. Sounds like your wife babies him. What 16-year-old throws a fit about granola bars? I would have throw then in the trash first time he did it. Not the asshole. That is incredibly entitled. They are granola bars, and you buy them. He should be ashamed. He is trying to give directives about who can touch them. You can also remind him how you can just throw them in the trash since they are causing such a fuss, and you bought them, but then I guess you would be the Thank you. As someone who on a daily basis has to deal with a younger brother always hogging food and getting mad if he even suspects someone has more than him, thank you. Well done nipping it in the bud. Need my parents to do it. Not the asshole. Get this self-entitlement out of him quick. He needs to learn the world does not revolve around him. Not the asshole. If he had purchased them it would be a different story, but you purchased them for the house. Does your son act this possessive about anything else? You may want to consider counseling or something for him because at 16 this kind of outburst is ridiculous. I know I have an older brother who throws tantrums like this and we are adults now. Your wife needs to stop letting bad behavior slide like that. Like hell, your daughter is afraid of him. This isn't normal and needs to be dealt with. Not the asshole. I'm scared of eating foods at my home for similar reasons and at one point stopped eating breakfasts, suppers, skipping days etc. until my boyfriend got me eating normally again. Make sure your daughter isn't scared of eating the last one or anything else for that matter and teach your son to either share or buy his own food. If he buys them himself and eats it don't be mad at him for it though. For some reason I get in trouble for buying myself food even though I was told I could, so just don't be like that. Not the asshole. When I was a kid, I loved a certain snack so much but sucks I had to share. So now that I'm grown up, I buy 2 boxes. One for sharing and one for me. My money, my rules. Now, here's a tricky part. He's being selfish here. If you just tell him to buy his own box, what he'll learn is he does not have to share what he earns. I don't recommend it. Tell him to share or no granola. You can also ask why he thinks there are not enough. Are you not buying them that often? Something harsh to share. I remember obsessing over a snack so much that I kept hidden stashes of the shared treat. My mom then bought several boxes and told me that it's the only thing I'm allowed to eat from then on. Grew tired of that snack pretty quickly lol. Granted though, I was 10.